You never seem to feel lonely, Arthur remarked one day to Merlin. There was a wistful tone in his voice.
The wizard eyed him closely. It's impossible to be lonely.
Perhaps for you, but... The boy stopped short, biting his lip. But his feelings got the better of him, and he burst out, "It's quite possible to be lonely. There's no one else in the woods here except you and me, and even though I love you like a father, still there are moments." Not knowing what else to say, Arthur stopped.
It's impossible to be lonely.
Curiosity gained the upper hand over all of Arthur's other feelings. I don't see why.
Well, there are only two classes of beings you and I need worry about in this matter: wizards and mortals. It is impossible for mortals to be lonely because you have so many personalities fighting inside you. It is impossible for wizards to be lonely because they have no personality inside them at all.
I don't understand. Who is inside me except myself?
First, you must ask who this thing called myself is. You may feel like a single, unique person, yet you are actually a composite of many persons, and your many identities do not always get along. Far from it. You are divided into dozens of factions, each fighting to occupy your body. Listen carefully. Don't you hear one voice telling you to go this way and another that way, one trying to make you good, another bad, one wanting to act like a child, another like a rebel, hero, saint, and sinner? It's a wonder you're not deaf.
Arthur looked very puzzled. Is this true of everyone?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. In my experience, mortals are always conducting inner wars between every possible faction. Your sense of being one person is just born of habit. You could just as easily see yourself as the way I have described. My way is more true because it explains why mortals seem torn apart and conflicted to a wizard. All in all, it is so bewildering to meet a mortal that I often believe I am talking to a whole village inside one package of flesh and bones.
The boy looked thoughtful. Let's say that I do have all these different people inside myself. Then why is it that I feel so lonely? For to tell you the truth, Master, I do.
Merlin threw his disciple a penetrating glance. It does seem a wonder, with all those people fighting to occupy your body, that you could ever be lonely. But I have concluded that loneliness exists as long as other people exist. As long as there is an I and a you, there will be a feeling of separation. And where there is separation, there must be isolation. What is loneliness but another name for isolation?
But there will always be other people in the world.
Are you so certain of that? There will always be people, that is undeniable. But will they always be other people? Wait until you come to the end of the wizard's way. Then tell me again how you feel.
I am fragmented and conflicted by so many personalities competing for the use of my body. Sinners and saints are arguing. Forbidden lust and unconditional love, divine and diabolical beatitude of paradise, dark night of soul. Each of these have staked a claim inside me, shouting over each other, causing endless trouble. When I was born, I did not have this war going on. I was not corrupted by concepts. But voices have appeared inside me, saying yes and no. Guilt and shame have been implanted, and I have become stained with fear. The secret caverns and the dark cellars of my psyche are riddled with doubt and sorrow. I have become a jail keeper of my shadow selves. I'm the prisoner of my own jail, tapping messages on the wall of my cell. My shadows are embarrassed and fearful. In the name of politeness and tact and knowing my place, I have held on to negative energies, have forgotten the instinct for release. I'm a loaded battery of anger and resentment and frustration. I'm a bomb. Bombs blow up and kill people. The explosion of shrapnel is the explosion of rage made manifest. I must make peace with my shadows and myself, bringing this war to an end. We all take separation for granted because we all have a self-image, an I that must be defended. Most people are so used to protecting their own interests that they do not have time to test one basic belief. Does separation have to exist? Does it? If the wizard is correct and there is only one infinite field of awareness in the universe, our whole conception of separation may be based on habit and fear. We all know that we have an ego and a self-image, but few people are aware of how complex these aspects are. Your self-image must be complex because it is built up from millions of past experiences. Every memory, fear, wish, dream, and emotion is constantly accumulating to form this gigantic structure, rather like a coral reef which becomes your sense of I, or what you think you are. Ego or I is always shifting. As Merlin teaches, dozens of voices speak inside you. We all have conflicting impulses. We all know that some part of ourselves is capable of fear one day and bravery the next, that being confused alternates with being lucid, just as selfishness alternates with altruism, love with hatred, and so on. Where do all these voices come from? From old conditioning, the inheritance of countless experiences that shaped your viewpoint. To have a unique viewpoint is natural. You and I have led separate lives. We have wept at different tragedies and exulted in different triumphs. But the ego, unfortunately, leads to fragmentation because all these personalities vying for your attention are in conflict. They each have a different interpretation of each moment of life, depending on which aspect from your past is dominant at any given moment. Fragmentation and isolation are the disguises that prevent you from seeing yourself as you really are, as the wizard. From infancy, you have heard so many voices of parents, siblings, friends, teachers, and the voices absorbed from books and movies and television. These voices live inside you in shadow form. They give you your stockpile of everyday reactions and feelings. But they cannot lead you to your center. For at the deepest level, you aren't a voice of any kind. You are silence. Silence is the womb of creation. From it springs all the possible thoughts and feelings and wishes you can have in a lifetime. The problem is that we are conditioned to pay attention to that secondary level, the level of thought and feeling, ignoring the primary level, which is silent. The inner silence, that is the wizard's domain, contains pure spirit, pure knowledge. From this level of yourself, you aren't involved in everyday pleasure and pain. Rather, you are a witness to everything inside and outside yourself. The real you is an unconditioned awareness that takes conditioning without becoming conditioned. I realize this concept is hard to grasp. As Merlin says, it is something you have to learn through experience by walking the path of the wizard. You must become this all-knowing witness before you can really know what it is.